Hey everybody, this is part two to the Salvia Divinorum trip. Um, the tale of the Salvia Divinorum. Look at that light right there. It's kind of interesting. It's coming from up there. But currently watching Allison in Wonderland right now. Get into a mushroomy kind of mood. So, yeah, basically where I left off was uh, we got the Salvia Divinorum. We waited till a day where our parents were gone, and then me, a friend, and my brother went into the backyard, set up a little thing with some chairs and a carpet. The carpet had some designs on it, so we thought it would kind of enhance our trip. So we set it up and we took turns smoking salvia. And my brother got up and did some weird stuff, but um, didn't really get blasted out of his body or anything. My friend had some moderate visuals and kind of zoned out, but that was about it. When it came to me, I smoked it once, where I took one hit, and it's supposed to be one hit and then you blast off. So I took one hit, and the only effect that I had was I was unable to move, basically. I felt like I was being pulled to the ground by some really intense gravity. The second and then 10 minutes went by, and I took another hit. And then this time there was some moderate visuals in the form of triangles that were kind of extending from my hands to this tree branch, and I could kind of move around the triangles with my hands. And I tried explaining this to my friend and my brother, but I was just slurring my words. Like I wasn't able to talk about it. So I waited till it wore off, and then I explained to them that I didn't really get anywhere. I didn't really go anywhere on this trip. And so um, then basically we went inside, um, and we went into our room, and there was a small TV we had, and we put on Netflix, and we watched a horror movie called like Bird Box or something, which is like a pretty bad movie. But yeah, we were watching Bird Box, and I think my brother kind of fell asleep, and my friend just was on his phone. So I kind of I kind of snuck the salvia out of the room because basically we were saving it for another day, and there was only they only sell it in tiny amounts, so there was only a little bit left. So I basically snuck it out of the room, and I went into my kitchen and I sat down on the couch and I packed a really big bowl, and I was like, okay, this better be the trip that I was looking for. And I lit it up, the whole thing, and I inhaled all of it. And before I even had a chance to blow it out, I literally like that. I was like started tripping. And the way that salvia works is it's kind of like falling asleep and being in a dream where you can't recall the exact moment that you fall asleep because sleep just kind of pulls you under. Like you kind of get the tide, the beta waves, the whatever, kind of just pull you into sleep, and you're not able to really consciously remember falling asleep. So basically, like um, I don't remember. I don't remember the exhale, and I don't even remember hitting the bullet. I had literally no recollection of what had happened in the previous couple hours. I was now in this experience. I was now in this experience. And basically what had happened was I became extremely I still knew that I was in the kitchen, but I had no clue what was going on. And what had happened is I was unable to see anything that was 3 inches from my face. like everything became super blurry, and all these uh basically how I describe it is like if you took a mirror and shattered it into 100 pieces, my whole vision of the kitchen was basically like that. It was like if you took a broken mirror and then tried super gluing it back together. Like you would see a bunch of individual fractured reflections. And that's basically what it was like. But at the same time, I could not see very far from my face, and I was unable to move. I was just kind of like in the on the couch like that. And so after all of that happened, after all that took effect, I kind of like the only thing I can move were my eyes. So I kind of looked over to the right of me, and it was really it was really cool. Basically what happened is this picture, which didn't really exist, but this picture in a very large frame, a rectangular frame, started forming itself out of the objects in the room. So the chair, the kitchen table, the window, and some objects that were on the floor all started forming this picture. And when it formed fully, it was like floating in midair. And the picture was of a this it was this large painted portrait of a Native American who was turning his face like this, so you could only see like one side of his face, and he had no eyes, and he had long black hair, and he kind of, maybe at the corner of his mouth he was kind of like smiling like that, but really no expression on his face. And I only saw it for like, I couldn't really tell how long I was in that trip, but it might have only been like 30 seconds. I saw this thing. And then I started hearing this like angelic choir singing. Like the picture disappeared, and I started hearing this angelic choir singing, and it sounded amazing and terrible at the same time. It kind of sounded like as if an angel was singing to you, but they were singing off key. So they have a really good voice, um, like music from a different dimension, but it's like off key. So it was kind of like producing anxiety at the same time. And so basically I just got a text from my brother, so I was just reading that. But basically the the craziness of the trip kind of started dissipating. The fractals started going away. The broken mirror pattern started going away, and my vision, my depth perception came back to me, and I realized that I just smoked salvia and that I was in my kitchen, and I my memory came back to me, and I I basically I leaned to the right, and I stretched out my hand and I tried grabbing the pipe, and I basically just pushed it off the couch, and it fell to the ground, and it made kind of a loud noise cuz it's glass. It didn't break, but it just made a loud noise. And my friend and my brother were like, "Yo, what's going on?" And they came out, and they're like, "Bro, are you tripping? Like, did you just smoke another bowl?" And I still like could not talk very well, but I like nodded my head like this, and they're like, "Damn, bro, like you're crazy for doing that without like our help, cuz like, like you never know what's going to happen on salvia. Like you got to make sure that someone's there for you if you start panicking." Luckily, I didn't panic, but yeah. So basically, my trip ended there, and they just said, okay, so we're gonna expect you to, um, you know, lay down and get some rest and try to sleep off the trip, because that's probably the most responsible thing to do. So I was like, yeah, sure. So I laid down and I kind of fell asleep because my body was still like super immobile, basically. And when I woke up, I couldn't feel any of the effects. I walked around, everything was fine. But something really interesting happened, and this is what I think confirms for me that this psychedelic is very unique in its own way, and it can produce long lasting benefits to you. At least I think it produced benefits for me. But basically, directly after I woke up, I went into the kitchen, and by this time, the sun had gone down and it was like dark outside. It was around like 8 or 9 p.m. So it was all dark outside. But in the kitchen, I was just like making some like juice or something. But in the kitchen, uh, I could see this giant barrier, this invisible, well, not completely invisible, but what kind of looked like a blue invisible barrier was was still. It was still. It wasn't moving, but it was on this side of the door. There's basically this doorway going out to the courtyard, and it was on this side of it. And I was like, "Huh, what is that?" And I went up to it, and I was like, huh, "What the hell is this?" And I put my hand through it, and I opened the door, and I walked outside, and then I then I turned around and I looked at it, and then I was like, "Oh crap!" And I looked up, and this barrier was like going all the way up into the sky, and it was like this kind of tinted blue barrier. That's it. It's almost like a wall or something, but it was going all the way up into the sky. And we, in our backyard, we had these eucalyptus trees, which grow up to like 80 to 100 feet. So they're pretty tall. It's like an 8-story building. So it went all the way up into the trees. It extended to the trees into the backyard, and it extended up into the sky. And it kind of started in my kitchen. And I was like, whoa, that's super cool. Like this must still I must still be tripping still. And 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 I was like going through it, and for some reason it made me super like I was laughing a bunch, like it made me really like it seemed really funny for some reason. And I was just going through it a bunch of times, and I was just like, "Oh my god, this is so funny! Like, I can go through this giant barrier, like, like, even though I don't know what the hell is going on." And I went back inside, and this is where it's like some Twilight stuff. So I went into the room where my friends were, and what was interesting is that the visuals weren't really coming from me because they weren't following me around. The barrier wasn't following me around. Like when I looked behind me, the barrier was still back in the kitchen near the door where it was, and it was extending through the ceiling, but it wasn't following me. Like when I turned around, it wasn't in front of me, which was really cool. And so I went into the room where my friends were, and they were just playing some video games or something. And I said, like, "Yo, I think I'm still tripping. Like, there's this giant barrier. Uh, I wonder if you guys can see it too." And they're like, "Yo, that's crazy. Let's go see it." And so we walked out, and when we started going to it, they were walking behind me, and I could still see it in the kitchen.